So I've started a new program here. I've got some variables that I've set, which are the graphics window width and the graphics window height. I've just called them GWW and GWH. Not the best names, but for our purpose I'm sure we'll be able to deal with it. Set the graphics window height and width, and then I just created a background colour, a font size, and then wrote some text to say main menu. The reason is we're going to be working with buttons in this tutorial. So I'm going to create some buttons down here that will allow us to go to what will appear to be other windows or other parts of our game. So to do this, I'm going to go and create a button. So I'm going to start with controls. So buttons are created within the controls sub, and we can say controls dot, and we can add all sorts of things. Notice we've got some events in here for when a button is pressed, which we'll come to later on. You can move, you can remove, you can set the size, you can show the control, or you can hide it. We're just going to add a button. So controls.add button, and let's just look at the arguments that it takes in. It wants the caption for the button, i.e. what's written on the button, and it wants a left coordinate and a top coordinate for it. I do actually find this slightly limited with the buttons. You can't set the size of the button, for example. The size of the button is determined by the length of the caption. But anyway, we'll just start with a caption that just says go to game. We'll give it a left coordinate of, let's say, 400, and we'll give it a top coordinate of, let's say, 300. And that's everything we need to create a button. If we run our game again now, not a very exciting game, we have a button. You notice it's got a rollover, so when I roll over it, I can see that it actually go to game. It just will bother me if I don't give this a capital letter. It's been drawn in the same place, so I definitely don't want to do that. So let's just draw this one a little bit lower down. Let's say this one at 500. Just make sure the positionings look about okay, enough that we can click on them. Certainly look fine to me. Probably both need to come across to the left a little bit more, but I'm not going to faff around with those things right now. So at the moment we click on these buttons and nothing happens. So how do we make the buttons work? Well, they're events, just like we used when we did mouse and keyboards. So we need to do control, because controls is all about writing to the text window, and we'll look at those in the next tutorial, and also using buttons. So controls dot, and I'm going to say, if we scroll down to the event, button clicked. Again, we know it's an event because it's got the green lightning strike icon. And remember, this is something that will constantly check, almost like a forever loop, a while 1 equals 1 that just says, I'm going to forever check to see if a button's been clicked, and it does that for you. If it is, I might run a sub called which button. And again, this is because it doesn't determine which button has been pressed. So we better write that sub to find out what has been pressed. Sub which button. And in this sub for now, I'm just going to make it, if we click any button, the program quits. So I'll just say program dot, is it end? Yeah, program dot end, end sub. So now if it detects any buttons being pressed, it will run the which button sub, and the which button sub just ends the program. So if we run that one more time, so if I press any of these buttons, including go to game, the program ends. So it'd be nice if we could make it so that the program knew which button was being pressed, and so I really only want it to do that if we press the quit button. So to start off with, I didn't name these buttons. Like with shapes, it's really best to name the shape that you create. So I'm going to say that the go to game one will maybe be but for button, and I'm just going to say start game. So but start game, and say that that equals this button that we create. I'm then going to say this one is but quit, so the button for quitting, and sure enough that creates the quit button. At the moment these don't do very much, it's just purely giving a name to the buttons, but that means that we can work with them. In the controls command we can see that we have the ability to do a variety of different things, and the one that we'll want to know is which was the last button clicked. So in here we've got last clicked button, so I'm going to say controls.last clicked button, and we need to see, we'll just make that equal to something. So we'll say clicked, if I could spell, let's try that one more time, clicked button equals controls dot last button clicked. So we just store what the last button was that was clicked, and for our purposes let's just go and print that to the text window as well. Text window dot right line clicked button, so we can just see which button has been clicked. I'm not going to end the program anymore, we'll come back to that in a minute. So now if we click on a button and we look at our text window, it says we've clicked on button 1. If we click on the quit button, it says we've clicked on button 2. So it can recognise which buttons you've got. Notice that they're not actually using the names that we've assigned them, but when we refer to them they will do. So if I say, for example, if clicked button equals the quit button quit, then I'm going to delete this line of code and we'll actually tell it that we want it to quit instead. So program dot quit, dot end I think it is actually, and we'll end that if statement. So if we run the program now, we find that if we click on go to game, nothing happens, but if we click on quit, sure enough the program quits, because the clicked button was the but quit one that we created down here. So again we could have multiple buttons checked in here, just like we can do with keys. So else if, let's say that we want to check the other one, else if clicked button is equal to but start game, then we will create the next window. Now at this point I think it's worth that we just put some of these other bits into subs as well. So I might be encouraged to have a setup sub again, so sub setup, and we'll end that sub in there, and I'm going to have this as create main menu. So create, need to put the word sub before it of course, sub create main menu, and again we just need to end that sub underneath, and let's be very lazy and do our right click format program just to make sure our indentation is all done. Does it nicely for us. Use white space to make it really clear to you what bits are in which section, so I can see one sub nicely there, one sub nicely there with a bit of white space between them, so it makes it clearer to read. So I might have another sub now that creates the main game. So I'm going to again copy and paste, which as I've said before is very dangerous, very prone to make mistakes. I'm going to create game window, I'm going to say, and we'll have a yellow background, be nasty, font size 50 still, and we'll just say we're going to have a game section. This would be where our game would be. I'm not actually going to make the game. we only want one button in here. I don't want a quit button, but I will have a in fact I will have two buttons. I'll have one button that says so it's going to be a button for play game. This is the play game button, and my game's really fun. When you click the play game button, we'll just make it do something really boring. So play game will be the button name, and when you click on that button, we'll do something, and we'll also have a main menu button to take us back to the main menu. Main menu button, and rather than call it but quit, we'll call this one but menu. Fantastic. So we've now got 4 buttons that we've created in total. We've got a quit button, a start game, the actual play game when you're in there, and the one to go back to the menu. So let's go and code what these different buttons will do. So if we say the click button equals button start game, then we'll just go text window, because I actually haven't coded a game, text window dot write line, and we'll just write, wow, wasn't that fun? That's all our game's going to do. But we can have another else if. In fact, I might copy this statement, paste it, because we've got 4 buttons in total. So else if the click button equals, what other buttons do we have? We've got a menu button. So if we click on the menu button, oh, it should be but menu, shouldn't it? But menu. Then I actually want to display the main menu. So I could say create main menu. And if we click on, there's one more button we haven't done yet, and that is we've done play game. Oh, that should be our play game button. So when we click on the play game button, it just says, wow, that was fun. We've got our quit button, which is on our main menu. We've also got our button that takes us to create main menu. We haven't got our button that takes us to the game window, which of course will be our start game button. So on the start game, we will go and open the game window. So create game window. We've got a little bit of problems with creating these windows, and I'll show you that now. So we start on our main menu, which doesn't seem to work at all for us now because we've put our create main menu into a sub, and then we never call it. So let's go and put underneath all of our code which sub we want to run first, which is create main menu. Let's try that one more time. So we create our main menu. I didn't set up, that's why the graphics window was a bit of a funny size. So let's do our setup sub before that. There we go, run our game again. That's better. So if I click quit, as before, it exits the game, which is just what we wanted. If we click go to game, so the problem we've got here is we still had the stuff from the old window and we've created the new window. So to get rid of these stuff from the old window, when we create the game window, why don't we say we just do a graphics window.clear. Graphics window.clear, and this will just get rid of everything that was in the on the screen previously. And we'll do that the same for the main menu. So before we draw anything, we'll clear what was there previously. Let's try this one last time, and I think this should be working, but you never know. So if we go to the game menu, yep, we get to our game menu. I can go back to the main menu. I can go to the game menu. I can play the game, which sure enough has produced me, wow, wasn't that fun? Play the game lots of times, go back to the main menu, and I can quit the game. So hopefully this gives you an idea of how you can use buttons to create menus or do any other kind of control. And remember, don't be afraid that in your which button, I would say when you clicked a button and it's going to do a reasonable job, it really should be calling another sub to do that job for you.